Let's go, LSU fans. We're breaking down the money play in all of college football. Third down. So let's strap in, okay? We are even going to break down how LSU performed on third down depending on distance, okay? And we're going to do a big focus on third and long at the end, okay? This was one of my top 5 Jayden throws on the year, and it does look relatively simple, but that's what I love about it, because this is just basic QB play from the pocket and just trusting your read and trusting your arm. And look at this throw by JD Daniels. Cole Taylor had not even beaten the linebacker yet. Good anticipation to lead him as well with a really good throw, and Cole was able to make something happen after the catch. And remember, Cole's not one of our better receivers, okay? So we are running Hoss. This is a play that we ran quite a bit last year. We normally do it out of 5 wide, but instead we did it out of 4, okay? And a good pre-snap read with the safety shading over to Malik Neighbors. Jayden knows that space up the seam is going to be there. And look at this, okay? The footwork was very quick. As you can see, there's a guy right in his lap. He threw an absolute dart, and he led Cole Taylor, baby. Look at that, baby. Let's go. So, quick fact. Did you know that 2019 LSU and the 2022 Tigers were the same team when it comes to third down conversion percentage? You're looking at comparisons of the last couple of seasons. You see how much better this unit actually performed on the money down. And my favorite thing was the variety of ways that LSU converted third down, right? You saw Jayden. We'd like to see more of that from the pocket, more of a traditional way. But, of course, Mississippi State, big spot in the game. Jayden decides to tuck and run. He had a few opportunities to throw potentially Malik on the dig, but we want him running in this situation if they're going to give us this lane that wide open. My favorite way LSU actually elected to cover third downs and mediums was actually via running the football. Run it, because if you are short of the yard to gain, guess what? You could just go for it on fourth down, and you saw LSU get that done versus Alabama and Ole Miss in big spots last season. But one thing I do not like about third down statistics is it doesn't differentiate distance. Boom, I'm looking at you. Get some music going. We're about to dive deep into the data, and you're going to love this from our friends at Statterdays, because we've actually broken down the numbers by distance, and we're going to actually see how LSU was on third down compared to third and long. Were they only good on third and short? So you're taking a look at this first graph, and really quickly, as you can see, it might be a little confusing, this y-axis compared to the x-axis, okay? What we're going to take a look at is how did LSU do relative to the rest of the SEC. So 0 is just baseline average, and this number is just how often you were in third and first and second, right? So obviously you want to be in third and first or second, because that means you did good on first and second down. You were successful. You were getting yourself in a good spot. So you can see LSU actually got themselves in a good spot pretty well, but the more important thing is that they converted third and first and second at a pretty high rate. As you can see, top 5 in the SEC, about even with Arkansas and Ole Miss. So that is some pretty incredible stuff, and it makes a lot of sense if you look at numbers like line yards from Football Outsiders, standard line yards, and all that good stuff, which essentially means stuff rate, if you will. The LSU offensive line was really good, and I think some of that also is Jayden Daniels' really good running ability. Now, let's take a look at how LSU did on third and 4. And as you can see, LSU is the absolute best in the SEC by quite a wide margin on third and 4. And once again, a lot of that is Jayden Daniels, and a lot of this was the LSU offensive line. They were a very good run blocking offensive line, in particular on inside zone plays. You're taking a look at the game sealer versus Auburn. Really good stuff, especially with Garrett Nussmeier in the game. So just to give you the actual raw numbers, LSU first and second, 75% of the time they converted. It's really good, 20 to 37. And then on third and 4, they converted 73% of the time. Does it actually get worse when you actually increase the distance? The answer is actually No, LSU was still amongst the SEC's best when it comes to 3rd and 5 and 6. You could see that they were in the top half. Alabama, Kentucky, and Georgia in particular are really good from this particular distance. So that's obviously pretty crazy stuff. And then when you go to 3rd and 7 and 8, once again, LSU was absolutely ridiculously good at 3rd and 7 and 8. Now, the only thing I would bring up about this is we are in this quadrant, which means we were in 3rd and 7 and 8 more than any other team in the SEC. That's obviously not where we want to be at all because, well, 3rd and 7 and 8 isn't really all that advantageous. And you're looking at the raw numbers here for 3rd and 7 and 8 and 3rd and 5 and 6. And as you can see, about 50% of the time LSU is able to convert in those situations. So now let's increase the distance again on 3rd and 9 and 10. Bang! LSU was very freaking good. And once again, we're not in this axis right here. We're not past the league average. So as you can see, Georgia, Alabama, Missouri, shockingly, and Tennessee, they were really good at not getting themselves in the spot. And as you can see, it's pretty much a diagonal line. You see a pretty good R value, if you will. As you can see, if you are in this situation the fewest, you tend to complete those situations more often than average. But if you're in this situation a lot, your chances of completing a lot of these go down, right? You see that diagonal line? So that's obviously really good stuff from Mike Denbrock, keeping this LSU offense on schedule, okay? And on 3rd and 9 and 10, we were 9 of 24, which honestly, all things considered, is really good. And the first Cole Taylor completion was on a 3rd and 10. Now, let's increase the distance to the absolute maximum. How did LSU look on 3rd and 11 plus? Well, this is where the film study is going to get very interesting. As you can see, this is good that we are in this quadrant right here. We are not in this situation a whole lot, which obviously is good. We're top 5 in avoiding 3rd and 11 plus, but we were the worst in the Southeastern Conference, along with Mississippi State, as you can see, at converting 3rd and 11 plus. So as you can see, these values are relatively flat, okay? So what that tells you, or what it tells me, is that teams on average really aren't that good at 3rd and 11 plus. As you can see, Georgia was the best at it, but you see this huge cluster of teams. Nobody was really able to differentiate themselves from this distance, but we were still the worst. And this 3rd and 11 thing actually gets even crazier when you look at the raw numbers. 10% compared to 37.5% on 3rd and 9 and 10. That just shows you how important it is for LSU to not have those negative yardage plays. And you go from better than a 1 in 3 shot of completing a 9 and 10 to a 1 in 10 shot of 11 plus, right? And something else I really like about clustering the yardage like this is these sample sizes are very similar. Now, there is a big difference between 3rd and 1 and 3rd and 4, but percentage-wise, it was practically all the same. Okay, so as you can see, you go from 3 out of 4 to basically 2 out of 4 to basically 1 out of 4, because you see it now in the clusters by 4 yards, as you can see. It's practically that. Now, as we always like to do, LSU was really good on 3rd down overall, but we like to make devil's advocate arguments. And this is going to be the big one when it comes to 3rd down. LSU last season could have been better on the money down versus the better opposition. So once again, we talk about this all the time, Power 5 adjusting your numbers. It's easy to do this on cfbstats.com. You just go down to the left side, and you're looking now, it's at 48.6% for LSU. If we Power 5 adjusted, it goes down to 43.9%. So that's taking out the UAB, New Mexico, and Southern games. And if you want to go even one step further, we all know Purdue really didn't field their actual team versus us in the bowl game. and we actually go down to about 42-ish% if you want to filter that game out. But for Georgia, they went from 51% to 51%, okay? Let's take a look at Alabama and Georgia, the two teams that went for the national championship in 2021. 52 and 44 were their percentage versus FBS Power 5, and you notice their numbers are practically the same when you look at all the games put together. And then we go back to 2019 here. 52-49, the two elite teams in the SEC, of course, are Alabama and LSU. We Power 5 adjust these numbers, and guess what? Their numbers are once again practically the same. A little dip for 2019 LSU, but 51 and 46%. So here is our season average in all games on third down, and you can see these are the game-by-game results. And as you can see, in all 6 of these Power 5 games, we were below our average, and in 4 of these, we went down to a 1-3 chance instead of a 1-2 chance of converting third down. And in that Tennessee game, very first drive of the game, we could not connect with Kayshawn on a wide-open slant. That would have been a huge play. That ended up being, you could argue, at least a 6-point swing that missed. So especially early on in the game, third downs, we have got to be better versus the better opposition. And that continues here, okay? So Mississippi State were 6 of 15, 40%, but we were 0 for 5 in the first half. And then Florida State here, 6 of 11, 54%. We were 2 of 5 in first half. But overall, versus Florida State, we were above our average, pretty good on third down offensively. But as you can see in the games that we dominated, once again, 6 of 11, 54%, and Florida by far our best offensive game versus a Power 5 team on the season, 8 of 12 for 75%. And then you get to the final cluster of games. I consider these the non-Power 5 games. Obviously, Purdue is a Power 5 team, but once again, they fielded a JV squad. We're 58%. We're actually 7 of 12 in these games right here. And versus UAB, we're a whopping 11 of 13 for 84.7%. Obviously, a pretty severe outlier there. So you combine these games, 65.3% in the non-Power 5 games, and that is basically a 2-3 shot you convert third down, compared to a 1-2 shot in all games, if that makes sense. So, obviously, we're never going to achieve this number versus Power 5 teams. Nobody has. But we just want our other performances to be better. So, none of these numbers mean anything unless we pair it with the tape. How can LSU get better on third downs versus Power 5 opposition? Well, you just got to convert them, right? Much like that Tennessee play you saw a minute ago, first drive of the game, Kyron runs a really good route on this comeback. You just got to catch this, right? This is a pretty good throw by Jayden, all things considered, a good read as well to find the one-on-one matchup. And you can make a case that we want our best personnel on the field. Malik wasn't on the field, and he ate on that comeback route all last year. And I get it, in this Ole Miss game, a few games before this TAMU one, we were able to hit Kyron on a comeback. Now, Malik might have been banged up for that Texas A&M game, but still, I want you to take a look at this throw on a third and medium versus Alabama on basically the same concept, right? So this is a comeback route early, and you'll see Jayden, while getting abso-freaking-lutely obliterated, he throws an absolute dime to Malik Neighbors, and I believe this is JaQuincy Kool-Aid McKinstry in coverage. And look at that throw, look at the accuracy, but look at how difficult of a catch that was by Malik. So when it comes to personnel, let's make sure our best players are on the field on the money downs. The next thing to improve third downs is being better on in-breaking routes. So basically routes that go over the middle. So you're looking at this variation of mesh that we ran versus Tennessee. And yes, the protection was bad. We did not pick up this twisting defensive tackle, and he had an unblocked run towards JAYDEN Daniels. But Jayden, I believe, still had a chance to throw this football to Mason or Kyron Lacey. It would have been really difficult, but that's a play that we repped a lot in the spring. And this next one is basically just like the first Tennessee play you saw a minute ago, the miss to Kayshawn, it's practically the same spot on the field, the same exact concept, and the ball is slightly thrown behind Kayshawn right here. He still should catch this. And can LSU actually get better on 3rd and long? Remember, less than 25% of the time we complete a 3rd and 8 or longer. So this right here is actually some really good quarterbacking from Jayden. He just barely missed Mason Taylor right here. Obviously processing from left to right on a rush 3, drop 8 scenario. And this is some sign of improvement, albeit against a non-Power 5 team versus New Mexico. Get kind of the same thing, a little bit of a mush rush here. Jayden works to the right, all the way back to the left, and he hits Jeray Jenkins on the in-breaking route for a big gainer. This would have been good for a 3rd and 12 or 3rd and 13, if you will. And even Brian Kelly brought up how impressive of a throw this was in the Monday press conference. So what about 11 yards or longer? Can we learn anything about the 3 successful attempts? Well, your boy dug through it all, and I think we can. So this is the first one versus Tennessee, 3rd and 13. I miss Jack Besh. I mean, the guy really understood windows, especially on 3rd down. 3rd down converting machine as a true freshman. He sits here, and Jayden throws an absolute dart on his upfield shoulder, and we're able to pick up the first down, okay? Now, this is another example, very similar, but this time versus man coverage. We're running a little screen, if you will, with Kayshawn, taking a 2-for-1 right there and getting Mason Taylor wide open on the in-breaker, and we're able to score a touchdown soon after. Let's throw it back. Kind of reminds me of this 3rd and 8 Matt Flynn completion. Remember Matt Flynn's name. We'll get back to him in just a second. Throw underneath because in the red zone, the field compresses, and it's tough to fit things into a window. And this last one is probably the spiciest. A 3rd and 18 versus Arkansas. Had a really bad pass protection mistake. On a blitz the play before, we could have hit Malik on a pretty big touchdown if the protection was perfect. So Mike says, look, let's just run underneath. Josh with a little shimmy-dimmy on Hudson Clark right there, the safety, and he's able to take care of the rest. So what do all 3 of those plays have in common? Well, it's pretty simple. None of those were throws beyond the sticks. In fact, none of the throws were even close to the sticks. And obviously the run was just a run. So one of the best things you can do on 3rd and long is just run, or run a lot of deep routes and let Jayden scramble for the yardage needed, okay? So that was obviously Joe Burrow right there on a 3rd and 12. That was from a recent film study, the best drive in LSU history. Now we get to this 3rd and 11 versus Clemson. The DBs were playing back. We knew Clemson was blitzing like crazy, so what do? We run a quick screen to Jamar Chase, who turned this into a 40-yard gain. Okay, so you notice these are plays that aren't necessarily throws beyond the six. We're not necessarily just chunking the football deep. So the best thing to do is play underneath the sticks. Okay, now this is an old school film study from many eons ago, episode 11 of PHL. Okay, we're up to over 900 videos now. Pretty crazy stuff, right? So quarterback draw right here on his 3rd and 10. Very gutsy, legendary call from Steve Ensminger with no timeouts, but he knew with Clemson playing very aggressive with their pass rush lane integrity, why not run underneath it? And I think many of you would actually consider this to actually be the best drive in LSU history. I know PHLer Rick believes this, but this is kind of the same thing. It's 3rd and 16. Matt Flynn decides to tuck and run. Florida's playing all their DBs back. He's able to beat that pass rush lane integrity. They lose contain on the outside, and Flynn somehow was able to fall forward here and get us to within 1 yard. And you'll see on this angle that he could have actually thrown this out to the sideline. But if they're going to give you that much room to run, much like Jayden versus Mississippi State, let's take it, right? Especially if it is Jayden running the football. So this just goes to show you that a big part of LSU's 3rd down efficiency with Matt Flynn and Joe Burrow was their underrated ability to run, okay? And Jacob Hester, of course, pounding this in. You know it. So you take a look at 2022 3rd and 7 LSU, non-P5 adjusted. We were 30%. But as you can see here, 2019 LSU on 3rd and 7 plus 34.9%. So not that much of a difference. Now, once again, this is just P5 adjusted for 2019. But the main thing is that bottom anecdote. 5 of them were Joe Burrow runs. So I know this is a 3rd and 5, but still, we had to have this one, right? Tuck and run if they give you the angle, right? Obviously, pass rush lane integrity got squirrely. If you're going to give Jayden wide open over the middle and he sees man, we want him to go. Now, if a throw is there, obviously make that throw, but especially if it's man coverage, go. But now this is where it gets spicy, okay? What if the defense takes away Jayden's ability to run on 3rd and long, as Alabama does here, okay? They have a very conservative rush. They do a lot better job of keeping contained. And, well, Jayden makes a wonderful play here. He extends the plays with his legs. He stays in the pocket. And then eventually, Kayshawn breaks off his route, and he hits him over the middle right in stride for a first down. So what I think defenses are going to do versus Jayden is force him to improvise and or just make throws from the pocket on 3rd and long. I feel Matt Flynn suffers from the Carly Rae Jepsen disease, right? Where you only associate Carly Rae with Call Me Baby, right? You know the song, right? And with Flynn, we only associate the Auburn game and just his career oftentimes with Flynn to Bird. But what was crazy was all the other big throws that this guy made in the Auburn game, okay? 3rd and 10, pass rush lane integrity, really good stuff right here by Auburn, but the protection's also very good on our end. Flynn, given time, makes one of the more difficult throws I've seen from any LSU quarterback. A 3rd down, cover 2, slot go right there from early Doucet. Look at where that ball was absolutely placed. Are you freaking kidding me? You're going to get another angle right here. And obviously they had him bracketed. I feel really badly for Gerard Powers. My goodness gracious. I couldn't imagine the nightmares he had from this game. And the coverage from him was actually good on both of these long completions. Whether it was Flynn or Doucet or whoever, you just see that ball that was just so perfectly placed, and I think that's what defenses are going to do versus Jayden. They're going to make him have to make these types of throws, kind of like the one you saw earlier versus Cole Taylor. You got to hit him in stride, on the money, within the progression, within the rhythm of the play, and I'm just in awe of this throw. What a dart from Flynn, baby. And then we get back to Joey freaking B. Okay, so in this game versus Georgia, he converted a lot of plays with his legs, but this time on the very first drive of the game, Georgia doesn't allow him to do that. They bring a 3-man rush with a QB spy, and while Joe is getting absolutely licked right here, he throws a strike to Terrace Marshall, okay? And this is just elite processing here from Joe, okay? We're running Dagger, and Dagger is by far my favorite cover 3 beater. And the reason why is because that outside corner, he doesn't have leverage on the in-breaking route here from Terrace Marshall. And Justin Jefferson, because he's such a great player, he carries not only that underneath defender, but that deep safety. He holds both of them, which opens up all that space over the middle. And, of course, Jamar Chase, drawing all that coverage there as well. And we're able to complete a 3rd and long from the pocket.
We had to get it. Yeah. Coach E called the Ensmere. He called 4 blitz, and they brought 0.
And obviously 3rd and 17 was another 3rd and long completed from the pocket. Now, I'm not asking Jayden to do something of this level of difficulty, but I appreciate Joe breaking it down for us here on PHL. But the overall point is, at some point, championship quarterbacks make these 3rd and long completions from the pocket. So we missed Mason Taylor on the 2nd and 10. It sets up a 3rd and 10 situation, and here we go. Okay, so we're in the red zone. We're down by 6, and this ended up being a 4-point miss. Okay, so Jayden eventually looks to the left to Malik Neighbors and then works back right. He probably should have stuck with Malik on this read, and you'll see in the back of the end zone, Malik does eventually open up. In fact, he's open now. The yellow arrow from Greg McElroy kind of got in the way there, but you can see he's open back there. He throws to a covered Kayshawn right here when Malik would have been a tutty. So these are the kinds of things that you would like to see Jayden complete this next season. And this right here kind of wraps up everything we've talked about all into one, okay? So you get a 3rd and 6 right here, and Jayden does the right thing. Like we said, tuck and run. If the pass rush lane integrity is all over the place, we get a wide-open rush lane up the middle, and Jayden shows some real grit to fall forward for the first down. But they called a BS penalty on Emory Jones. Look at this Brian Kelly face. So now we need Jayden to really dig us out of a hole. 3rd and 16 on the road. Some 3rd and 17-ish kind of vibes here. Protection breaks down to the right side, but the rest of the guys just kind of just sit there and maintain their pass rush lane integrity. Jayden decides to tuck and run, but he knows he can't get there with all these guys around. He decides at the last second to throw this football to a wide-open Jack Besh, and barely missed him. Okay, so let's break this down from the end zone angle. If I'm Jayden here, once again, this was a very exotic look that A&M threw his way. I am trying to reset my feet and pick this play up, okay? And it was there for the taking. Now, I don't mind a tuck and run on a 3rd and 16 and make it a 4th and medium, but here it just wasn't there. And I do like the fact that he eventually did spot one of the open receivers, but he still barely missed him. As you guys can see, Jayden is a very good quarterback, and he made some really good decisions on 3rd down, a lot of which were runs. We would like to see more 3rd down conversions via throwing, but it's very difficult because the defense is expecting it, which leads us into this extra topic. Let's get to where we're not even having to be at 3rd down, right? Being more efficient on 1st and 2nd down goes a long way. LSU, they did a good job staying out of 3rd and like a mile, but we were in a lot of 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8. Let's not be there as much as we were this past season and just be better on 1st and 2nd. I like Jayden runs on 3rd down. As you guys saw, I just like running on 3rd down just in general, especially in plus territory. You can always go for it on 4th. But yes, there are some throws out there that I feel Jayden will make that he did not make this past season, but only time will tell. But overall, LSU's 3rd down management was so much better these past couple of seasons because of Brian Kelly and Mike Denbrock's analytically forward-thinking minds to obviously go for it on 4th down. Set yourself up for a potential opportunity to go for it on 4th down with running. I just absolutely love it because I see other teams don't do that, and they are way too conservative on 4th. That's something that LSU struggled with these past couple of seasons in that department. So overall, I am very bullish on LSU becoming better on 3rd downs this next season. They were already very good, but obviously we would like to see them remain the same percentage on 3rd down conversion versus the non-Power 5 and the Power 5 teams. But overall, this was a positive film study. It was also fun to go back and look at some legendary Matt Flynn and Joe Burrow throws. I think you will be shocked that Jayden is going to be making more of these throws this next season. I'm putting those positive vibes out there because he's already a really good quarterback, and I think he's going to take that next step and be elite. Let's go. Let's go. Now, floating in your face, we have some other fun things for you to check out. And I am going to the Windy City, baby. Let's go. It is Power Hour LSU. Boom. So sometimes our film studies get demonetized. Feel free to donate, support. We got some new merch. And tonight, we're doing some deep dish pizza. Let's go.